Hi, so welcome again. This is Andrea and Mia for the Udacity webinar on entrepreneurship. So today's agenda, we're going to be talking about the entrepreneurial mindset, the top 10 attributes of an entrepreneur, the growth mindset, which is ultimately what that mindset is about. Do a little quiz with that. And then we'll talk about what goes into a business plan and a marketing plan. Again, my name is Andrea Mia, and I'm the presenter today about entrepreneurship. Excuse me. And by the way, please feel free to ask any sort of questions and interact in the chat room, and we'll have an opportunity to speak with each other later also. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure that everybody just gets admitted immediately. Okay. I think when people come in now, it should be okay. Okay. So just to make sure everybody can see the slide. Diane, people can see the slide? Chime up, let me know in the chat box if everybody sees it. Okay, good. Thank you. So the first thing, so what I want you to do actually is have a little piece of paper out in front of you. And I want you to give yourself a score when we go through these. 3 being, yes, that's very much so, that describes me. 2 being, maybe. Probably, but maybe. And 1 being, wow, that is really not me. Okay. Now, if there's a lot of that's really, really not me, don't be panicked about it. We're trying to discern whether this is a good match for you or not, basically. So try to be honest with yourself and whether these are attributes that you would say are true about you. So the first one is personal initiative. Entrepreneurs are doers, and they're really not dreamers. Personal initiative has to do with this drive to just do it, basically. So in this case, number 1, give yourself a 3, 2, or 1, whether that would describe you or not. Second thing, perseverance. So one of the single biggest factors in perseverance is total dedication to the venture. Thousands of examples of people who have tried to succeed, but then have just given up. So give yourself again a score of 3, 2, 1. Okay. Third one, ability to set and achieve goals. The ability to establish goals and then focus on those goals is critical. Goals must be realistic, attainable, and measurable. And the entrepreneur must then be able to establish a vision of success. Successful entrepreneurs do not think about failure. Okay. Now we'll go to the next slide. Next one is ability to recognize and solve problems. So this is, give it a 3 if you're really not intimidated by the number or the severity of the problems that you might face. Entrepreneurs tend to recognize and attack and solve problems based on their need to achieve. 5, asking for help and using feedback. This one's actually really, really important for many things, but what this has to do with, and there's a little picture of this over here, the feedback loop, is not being foolhardy in your pursuit of a problem or a goal, realizing that time is not unlimited and that making a decision is still a decision. They ask for help when it is needed. And so think about whether you have the inclination to ask for help when you need it. The next one is learning from both successes and failures. Entrepreneurs learn from both of these. They don't hide their errors. Instead, they analyze the causes and learn from them. Successful entrepreneurs become what I like to call like conscious computers, okay? They know where they were successful and how to build on that success, and they know where they failed and how to prevent similar failure in the future. So again, give yourself a little bit of a score there. Okay, we have 4 more. Next one is self-reliant and self-confident. So this is trusting in the fate of your venture, basically, and your own abilities to achieve it. This is not, the difference between being confident and cocky is not that great. The confidence leads to success and cockiness leads to failure. So it may be splitting hairs to some degree, but confidence counts for something here. Moderate risk-taking and risk-sharing. So effective entrepreneurs generally prefer to take moderate, calculated risks, not ones that are so large that they're losing everything, putting it all on the line, basically, and not too small that they're not having any skin in the game or any stake, really. Number 9 is tolerance of uncertainty and ambiguity. The ability to make effective decisions based in an uncertain environment. Taking it with stride, viewing it as a challenge, appearing to thrive in this type of environment. So time is, again, not unlimited. You have to make decisions, but being able to live with that ambiguity. And the last one, and there are many others, but these are the 10 that I chose that I think are the most significant, is a team builder. This is about not taking credit alone for your success, but being able to share in that success. Recognizing that you're not able to build a business by yourself, and actively recruit teams or build teams. I've had businesses before. One of the most important things that I have recognized in building a business is knowing what you're strong at and knowing what you're weak at and knowing when to hire out, basically, and not try to do everything yourself. Recognizing that this is not possible to do everything is really important. Okay. So what this goes to is the idea of a growth mindset and whether you're in this growth mindset or not. If you look at the slide that I have here, this is about how your intelligence is developed, whether you learn from criticism or you ignore it, whether you look at things as I want to master them, basically, or you think that that's a fruitless venture. So if you take a look at that, this is what I'm talking about when we're talking about growth mindset, which has a lot to do with entrepreneurialism. Okay. So you should have scored up about what your scores are right now. And if you want, you can share it in the group. Again, the idea was giving yourself a 3 if you really agreed that was you, 2, not so sure, but maybe, and 1, oh boy, that really definitely is not me. And can everybody hear okay?
Cà phê bà. Cà phê bà. Đàm. Bộ này.
The business, de cómo se mindset. Pero comenzaba a las 5, ya son las 5:10. El tiempo pasando rápido.
I think that if you can probably leave the breakout room yourself at the bottom of the screen on the right-hand side. There we go. Okay, perfect. Lourdes, let's see who else. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think you have everyone. Andrea, we can't hear you.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, and can you see
Yes.
the slide also? I just want to make sure about that.
No slide.
Interesting, okay. Can you see the slide now?
There we go.
Okay,
Good
sorry.
job. That's all right.
Technology is not my strong point, at least to Zoom and trying to work with this. So I want to talk about now things to consider in creating a business plan for yourself. So it's one thing to dream, and it's another thing to practically put down what is most important for you to consider in creating a business plan and considering a marketing plan. So these are things more to take notes on and to think about, okay? So why do we create business plans? We create business plans so that we have a roadmap to success, and so that we're not doing it blind. We're not grabbing and going. We're talking about creating something that can be lasting and that can sustain you. That's the idea of creating a business, basically. And so these are a few things to keep in mind. Failure to develop a realistic business plan, that's basic, okay? Having a sense of what success will look like to you, okay? And actually writing this down. Reasons that business plans don't work is mismanagement of funds, deciding, I forget who it was, I think it was Nilesh was talking about, you know, he's running a family right now and working for people. How much money does he have to put aside to start his own business responsibly? Okay. Concept needs to be good. Lack of market or need. When we're talking to, who was it? Now I'm not seeing her name. Anyway, the lovely lady at the end, who is talking about like who needs it, basically, you know, figuring out if people need what it is that you would like to sell. Being insufficiently aggressive. Oh, someone chatting. Sorry, there we go. Can you all hear me? No, we can't, Joseph. Oh, sorry. Lourdes, thank you. I couldn't see Lourdes's name. Also, just not having enough money and not having enough of the skills that are necessary to run a business. Now, as I mentioned before with Stavros, knowing what it is that you're not strong at and knowing what it is that you are strong at and being able to compensate for that, that makes up for that, meaning not having the necessary personal or business skills. That doesn't mean that that's a permanent situation. That means that that's something to address. Other questions to ask yourself: will this business be profitable and can I afford to do it? Can I live with the projected cash flow? How does the rate of return that is anticipated, oh, let me move this. Sorry, I just need to move something. Anticipated profit represent compared to other ways to invest. So at the end of the day, if you have $5 in your bank account and you want to start a business with that $5, is that the best use of the $5? Is it better to invest in another way? So something to just consider, we only have so much capital in our lives to start with, and what is the best way to grow that, basically? One might be having a business and one might be doing something else with that investment. Is this a business that you want to provide your full income also? Maybe this is a supplementary business, maybe this is your full-time job, but this is something to consider, how much you actually need for it to take care of your entire gross income. Other questions to ask: what can go wrong? I could have no customers, for example, or and how likely is that nobody needs what it is that I want to provide? I think this is actually one of the more important things. What can be done about it before it goes wrong? So thinking through this whole issue of what are the different things that could go wrong? And then thinking about, okay, well, let's say that does go wrong. What are my backup plans? What are the different ways that I will go to address those issues? Thinking about this at the beginning will help you so much later, because you'll have a plan to go to if something does go wrong. Now, granted, things can go wrong that you have no idea of predicting. For example, this virus that's out there right now. I have a business that my partner is going down to a very, very large convention this week. 100,000 people are supposed to be at it. Now they're thinking 40 to 60% are going to be at it. That could be looked at as unsuccessful from the beginning. Instead, what we're doing is we're looking at what the pitch is and how to take advantage of the fact that half the people are going to be there that they expected to be there. In fact, it may play into what we're selling that much more, because we're saying, hey, you don't have to do this person to person, you can do this on video, basically. So things that can go wrong, what are ways for you to pivot? The last question on here, what is my long-term exit strategy? That can actually be really informative as to how serious a business this is, if you can have an exit strategy. So is it that you need to buy equipment and that you'll have equipment and some sort of capital investment that you could sell in the end and sell to another company? Will you have a customer list, for example, that you would want to sell to another company to get out of it? If you have a partnership, has the exit strategy been worked into the partnership so that it's clear if one wants to exit or another wants to exit, how that will happen? But mainly looking at the thing that you are creating as something that can be passed to somebody else. Does it have that sort of gravitas, basically, that you will have something to hand to somebody else for them to take over the business? Or does the business die with you? And if the business dies with you, the business dies with you, knowing that that's the case. But give some consideration to what is it that you're creating as an asset that you could possibly sell to somebody else and say, this is an asset, and if you continue to work it the way I did, it'll continue to be successful. So creating an exit strategy. So these things here, some of these are just classic thing. If you look up what's in a business plan, this is what's in a business plan. I'm not sure if my Zoom thing, oh, there, let me get the Zoom thing out of there. Your missions, your value statement. Executive summary is just who you are, basically, or who the people in your business are. What is it that you're selling? What is the description of your goods? We're going to talk more about marketing plans, marketing strategy, and sales strategy. Is there a sales cycle for what you're doing? So really dialing down into the sales plan, talking about what the financial plan might be, the organization, any sort of legal considerations you need to have, human resources plan, and an appendix, maybe patents and so on that you need. Now, why create? I put all this out here. This is stuff that you can look up yourself as to what goes into a business plan. But the reason I'm putting it out there is that the business plan, people often look at it as like, well, I need to create that for somebody else. If I'm asking for money, for example, from somebody, they want to see a business plan. What I'm telling you is that a business plan is a good thing to have for yourself, and to go through this for yourself, thinking through these questions and who it is you are, what What is your sales plan? What is your marketing plan? What are your assets? What are the finances that we're talking about? What is the operations plan that you're planning on doing? What sort of allocations do you need for that? When we're talking about a one-person band, so to speak, that you're starting your own business, if you go through this exercise of really breaking down things, really considering all of these different issues that you see on the screen here, you'll be so much better at being able to respond to things when they don't go exactly your way. Or the other side of this is, by going through this, you go through figuring out, who is my market? What is it that I exactly have to sell? What is it that distinguishes me in some sort of fashion? Without doing that, you're just sort of like, hey, I'm going to sell software. I want to develop something, but it's not based in a whole plan, basically. And that's where this marketing plan basics come into mind. Knowing who your customers are. Give me 1 second. Okay. Knowing how to price your products. Okay. Knowing the method and scale of production and the timing. This might be a great time to start a business from home. And we were talking about this before with Lourdes, the demand for totally new technology. If you know there's a market for converting from the old to the new, this is part of the research that needs to be done. You know, are people ready for it? And do you have a way of speaking about it even? If they want AI, for example, people may not know they want it until they know what the capacity is. And from knowing the capacity, then they might be like, oh, of course I want that. I don't care what you call it. You could call it, you know, blue, red, yellow. It doesn't matter, but this is the sort of capacity I would love to have and I'll pay money for. So how do you do that with a market study? What is the viable market for you if the product exists already? What is the timing? And are you sufficiently distinctive to attract the sales you anticipate? I coach a lot of people who are coming out of learning about technology and not having a lot of experience yet. And they're trying to figure out, well, how do I get the experience? And oftentimes I say, well, why don't you start your own freelance business, which is what you all have interest in here. And I was like, and if you want to be a web developer, decide what your niche is. Maybe it comes from your background. Maybe it comes from something that you're particularly interested in now. But let's say that you like doing nails and that you've had a whole background in doing nails, but now you're a web developer and you're a front-end web developer. Maybe your focus should be all on nail clients, that's what your niche is, so that when they see you, they identify with you and they know you're their person to hire so they can see themselves in you. Being very general about things, not knowing who your audience is, not knowing who your market is, not defining it clearly, that is a way to not get customers, basically. I told you all that I dealt in film for a long time. We used to say that in film, you need to have at least 2 audiences that are clearly defined that you are going for if you want to bring people in sitting down in seats. So a general movie that has no target audience, it has no audience. There's no way, it may be a great movie, but there's no way to get people to go to see it. It's exactly the same thing in a business. You have to get people to go see it by being able to identify what those markets are and play to them. It doesn't have to be just one, it could be multiple, but you have to define them. Everybody doesn't want whatever it is that you sell. So part of what we do here with the market strategy is comparing your business to the competition, being able to, sorry. Oh, okay. I will try to figure that out. Okay. Your question, Laura, says, could a strategy be to first to be freelance, to get an idea where your market, yeah, you can also test the market that way. But in this slide, I'm talking about comparing your business to the competition, seeing what else is out there basically first, and seeing how it is you want to distinguish yourself and present yourself as unique. One of the other things to consider, and I guess AI is one of those, do you have to be really big to compete? Or can you be small to compete? For many things, you can be small to compete. If your target is small businesses, you know that they have limited capabilities in that way and limited desires, you can reach them. Or do you need huge assets to be able to create what it is that you want to create? So be realistic about that, basically. And as you asked, like, could this be a way of figuring out what your market is? Absolutely, but keep refining what those descriptions are, figuring out where am I getting responses? What type of people am I getting responses from? Is this my market now? Have I started to define it differently? Or this isn't quite my market and I need to change what my materials are. I need to appeal, if I want to appeal to nail shops, for example, you know, am I appealing to women-owned shops properly? Do I know that's my business, for example? Or is it that nail shops actually aren't women-owned, they're men-owned? And what I'm doing is I'm playing into, I should be playing into a men's sensibility more than a woman's sensibility, perhaps. And that's being very general, but I'm saying, like, really know it, basically. Really know who it is you're selling to. You can have profiles of them, company and personality-wise. So once you've decided that a viable market for your product exists, you need to time how you want to get into it and make sure that you are definitely distinctive enough so that people see you. Sometimes people are afraid to, like, I don't want to turn off people. I don't want to, like, I don't want to eliminate anybody, right? You do want to eliminate a lot of people. You want to find what your target audience is and you want to play to that audience. And as I said, it could be multiple audiences, but it isn't everybody. I have a business that does neurofeedback. Everybody who has a brain could benefit from neurofeedback. However, we had to decide we want to appeal to mothers who have children who have ADHD, for example, okay? This is a specific market so that those mothers can identify that they want to give their child an advantage, basically, with this system. However, everybody with a brain could benefit from it. That doesn't help me find a market or define a market or play to a market. So you must find the market and then develop a sales strategy around that market. Okay, so now I would like to know if you have any questions or any thoughts that people can share with each other about this, because I think it was Varel who has had businesses before and knows what the challenges could be. Let's see if I can figure out how to unmute everybody. Not sure. Let's see if I have the ability to make sure to unmute yourself also, because I'm clicking unmute on you.
Hi, Andrea. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So my questions, I have a couple of questions. Thank you for the helpful presentation. My questions are, I would like to get some kind of a checklist, like, you know, in terms of like, okay, this is what you need to do first before doing that kind of a thing, you know, like you had a good slide there with all the business plan.
Yeah.
That I would like to, like, you know, understand, like, okay, you got to first register your business, or like, you know, find a lawyer, or like, you know, what are the What are the
Okay,
typical
so
steps, those kind of things?
sure. So I would like to answer that. I can answer that question as far as the United States goes to a good degree, but I can't answer that question for everywhere in the world. I'm sure Stavros has a better sense of like, how do you go about setting up a business in Greece, and how do you go and register your business name, for example. The general process in the United States, and maybe this is transferable on some level, is you need to make sure, one, your name is clear, so that the title is clear, that so there's not another business called Nilish's Enterprises, basically, you know, right where you are, that you're in competition with. And a lawyer can do that for you, and a title search can do that for you as well, if you don't want to pay a lawyer to do that. Second is you need to decide whether you're going, what kind of business you're going to be. Are you going to be a DBA, which is a doing business as business? Or are you going to be an LLC? And an LLC, for everybody who's not from the United States, is a business that can protect your other assets, basically. So if somebody comes after your business and wants to exact something, they don't have access to your house and to your family's money, basically. They have access to whatever the assets are in the business. So it's a way to protect your family's assets by not doing a DBA, meaning a doing business as. And there are a couple of variations on that. For that, you may or may not need a lawyer to set it up. The next thing you need to do is have a identification number so that taxes can be paid and people can pay you and give you money, basically, and you can give them forms. Again, don't know how it's done throughout the rest of the world exactly, but probably you need to have some sort of number identifying you with the tax authorities that you are doing business. So now you have a name, you are able to have a bank account, you're able to be paid by people, and you have your partnership agreement set up, or your operating agreement set up. Okay, so you're at that point. Then there's the factor of patents and so on. I don't know whether any of you need that, want that, but then that's what I would get into next, is how do you protect whatever the intellectual property is that you've created, if that is the type of business that you are talking about creating. Okay. And then the rest of it, once you're sort of up and going in that way, the rest of it has to do with your business plan, meaning figuring out and being clear on what the market is, what your time frame is, what your sales cycle is going to be, how you're going to position yourself, basically, how you're going to allocate the different assets that you have into these different places that you need to allocate them. And by assets, I mean not just money, but also your time, how much time you want to spend on it, and how much time you want to spend. And then you were like, and if it takes more than this amount of time, I'm farming out and I'm paying someone else to do this part because I can't do everything. So anyway, so that was a verbal way of talking about like, what are the first steps, basically. Business plans, I don't know how to send that to you on here. I guess I can put it, maybe Diane has a brilliant idea, but maybe I can send something through the Career Hub as an attachment. And what I'll do is I'll go to the Career Hub where we do the chatting, and I'll put something in there because I just know how to do that. I'm not quite sure how I can do it otherwise. Okay, Nilesh?
Thank you. Yeah, that was helpful. My second question was about like, is there some place where I can get some like sample business plans so that it's like a good template of like, okay, this is what you need to address in this particular point?
They're all so specific. I've seen dozens in my lifetime, different. I will give you, are you in the United States, Nilesh?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. There's a resource that, let me just write it down in the chat room, called SCORE. Also, Did that come through? SCORE, SCORE? I'm not sure, Diane, if it did. Yeah, we can have Rachel email them. SCORE, and the other group I was going to say is a small business, what is it, Association of America? Anyway, SCORE is the Society for Retired Executives. And what they're designed to do is they're all doing it as a volunteer work. They're in all major cities and a lot of minor cities. And they are executives who have retired from their business, thank you, and are offering their services to help you develop your business, okay? And they can help you with marketing if that's what you need help with, or a business plan if that's what you need help with. But there are assets out there and people who are willing to help you develop these things as well. SBA, thank you. It's the SBA that I was going to say. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Ha! So very difficult to have a business plan. Oh my God, that's so terrible. I have a friend who's a videographer in Athens, and he was telling me, now this is a few years ago when I was there, that sometimes he gets paid and sometimes, I don't know, 6 months before he gets paid, who knows? Very hard for him to run a business based on the people not paying in any sort of timely fashion, basically, because the economy is tanked in so many ways. So is it easy to start a business in the USA for non-US residents? No. I don't think so.
Okay.
Plus, how are you going to enforce not being here? Even if you started a business here, and let's say you have a partner here that you know sets up your business, and you are a partner in it. So then you're under US laws and you need to enforce US laws, which need to be enforced here, basically. So that's a very short answer to say, like, not so sure that that's the way around it exactly. However, one thing I would consider being in Greece is there a country in the EU that is maybe more conducive to business and for setting yourself up in that way? And one of the things that we do in the United States, and I don't know whether it's done in Europe exactly, is there are different states that are better to set up your business depending on the codes of the states. And you can go about doing that basically to save money, okay? But I would wonder with Greece, you know, should you set up something in the Netherlands instead? Does that make more sense, basically, to protect yourself?
I will try to find a better market.
Yeah, and I mean, the nice thing about it is they may be a good part of your market if you set yourself up somewhere else also, even though you're providing in Greece.
Thank you.
How do you value your talent? Well, one of the things you do, so Lourdes asks, how do you value your talent and not undersell your talents? And I think something to keep in mind here is, one, what will the market allow, so to speak? And what it is you're getting out of it. So when I talk to, we're just beginning, and they're trying to develop a portfolio of success, you know, portfolio of work that they can show other people, to sell other people on their work. In a way, it really doesn't matter what they charge for that. It's not about undervaluing or overvaluing their talent. It's a matter of, you need this done. I need to show that I can do this so that I can get other people to pay me for it. So for the first few sort of ventures, I wouldn't look at it as a money. I would look at it as creating a project basically to show others and to be able to position yourself as being able to do the work. Why do people decide to sign on with you? They decide because they see others have signed on, basically. They see themselves in you on some level. They see that you're talking to them. And they need to have confidence that you can deliver the work about delivering. So how do you create that confidence? You need to have something first. So in answer to your question, how do you value your talent? I think you decide based on the project what it is you need from the project first. And then what will the market bear is another thing. And whether you're offering something that's rarefied that you can charge more for, that nobody else in the market is offering, and therefore you can charge that much more for, something distinctive about you. It may be that you're an award-winning creator. It may be that you are, you have something, a tool that you've developed nobody else has developed. But obviously you get to charge more if there's something totally distinctive that you have that nobody else has. I hope that answers your question. I wasn't trying to punt how you
Yes.
values.
Thank you.
Not at all. Any other questions? Okay, let me just let you know about, hold on. There's another webinar coming up on March 9th, boosting your chances of landing a remote job. You can sign up for that one. I'm not sure who's giving it, I'm sorry to say. And that is all she wrote today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Diane, for helping me answer questions. I appreciate that. And I hope that you join again. We will figure out how, I think what I'm going to do is put some resources on the chat room, because I don't know if we can know all exactly and email addresses to be able to send you more information about business plans. So take a look there, pay attention there a little bit, okay? Especially you, Nylish. Thank you.